In 2022, I attempted to take my own life. I've had quite the history of going through my own mental health battles. In my high school, I was in and out of eating disorder treatment. I've been to 2 facilities across the nation. From an outside looking in, I have like a perfect life. My parents are literally the best people I could ever ask for, and I have a super loving brother. Growing up, I always just felt a little different than everyone else. And then once COVID started, I started to go through other things due to social media usage. I was comparing myself to a lot of people on the internet during COVID, since we were all on our phones so much at that terrible time. So I started comparing myself, and then I started dieting and over-exercising a lot. And then slowly, over a couple months, I grew into having anorexia. I was at home during COVID for a couple months struggling. My parents didn't really realize at first, and I don't think it really ever hit me until my brother made a comment about me never eating. That was like the tipping point for me, because I think I realized I actually had a problem. Before that, I didn't realize I had a problem. I did my sophomore year of school, and then during that summer, I went away to treatment in Anderson, Indiana. So that was my first time. That place was called Selah. I met like my bestest friends ever. You didn't have your phone, so at this one, I was there for 3 months. I didn't have my phone. So basically I just wrote letters to my family the whole time. But there, basically, I was with 12 other girls. I was always the oldest one, so I was 15 at this time. And there were like 11-year-olds. You did other activities like group therapy, and I did a lot of therapy with horses, which was really awesome. And it kind of helped me have my love for animals. So then I completed my time there. And shortly after I got home, probably a week, I relapsed right away. I didn't tell my parents or anything because I was very cautious. Treatment is a very expensive thing. Without insurance, it's about $1,000 a day. So that made me feel really guilty about relapsing as soon as I got home. I started my junior year of high school, and I made it through the first semester, but it was really terrible going through depression and not eating correctly, obviously, and over-exercising my body all the time. I stopped school my second semester of junior year and went away to Naperville, Illinois. And that place was called Clementine. The first place, Selah, was very nurturing. They told me I was loved every day. And the first place was also very Christian-based, so that was really good at connecting me with my faith. But then the second place kind of had a different technique, and it was like tough love. It was really hard. Every day I got to call my parents for 10 minutes, and I told them how I needed to go home and everything. I think I needed the tough love in that moment, because without that I wouldn't have beat my eating disorder and had people look at me in the eye and say I needed to recover or else I'd be dead. I was there for another 3 months in Chicago, it was a little weird because it was out of state since I'm from Indiana. Yeah, I was there for 3 months, and it had a very similar structure to the first place. We ate all our meals together and we did therapy all day long. And then a couple months later, I attempted to take my own life. I overdosed on November 10th, 2022, and it was a very impulsive thing. I didn't mention this, but since I've been a child, I've always been suicidal, and I still am to this day. And I'm still going through therapy and everything to make those thoughts go away. I had access to all my meds at this point, so I thought that would be the easiest route. A lot of people try to take their own life for different reasons. There's usually 2 reasons. Some people do it to stop the pain, and then some people do it because they want others to know how they're feeling in that moment. So my way was kind of to stop the pain. I've felt suicidal since I was a little girl, and you get so tired of feeling the same way every day. Well, during COVID, a lot of influencers at the time used their platforms to promote like having a period of self-growth. So I was under the impression like if I follow these influencers and do exactly what they're doing, I'll better myself. So what started out as a good plan to better myself eventually ended up as me dieting too far and over-exercising too far and comparing myself to the bodies that I see online. I was in the hospital when I attempted at first, and I was there overnight for a day. And then the next day I just gotta go home And it was actually, I spent the day with all my friends and my family. We went to an Ohio State football game. But it was a very odd experience because the night before I just tried to take my own life, and now I was back in public, back to the same old thing. I also struggled a lot because I didn't tell many people about this. Obviously, it's such a stigma in our society. I just felt out of place living in a world where I tried to die and just being back in the same world that I tried to leave from. And I think one thing that I like to share is that just because this happened to me, I still go through the same struggles every day. And although I'm in such a different place than I was, I still struggle the same way every day. I think at the end of the day, sharing your story and helping others is something that fills your heart with so much purpose and helps you realize that what you went through can help so many other people in different ways be the true version of themselves and better themselves. I think that feeling's like no other, and realizing that you can help people. I worked for Aaron's House in Fort Wayne. It's a grief center for kids and family members that have lost a loved one. And sharing my story there and helping other people that have gone through the same thing as me was the most beneficial thing. It was crazy because I was helping these kids go through such hard times, but at the same time, it helped me so much because I got to talk about my own hard times. I started going to my therapist in 2020, right when all of this started, and I'm still seeing her, so it's been about 4 years now. And it's crazy because she's like an older woman, but she's literally my best friend in the entire world. And I love talking to her so much. And it's helped me so much have someone that's on my side, but also can share a different perspective about everything I'm going through. And then she's also very knowledgeable. So she gets to tell me all the information about how eating disorders will harm my body and how overdose, like all the reasons that I shouldn't do it, and be an outside source helping me on the inside. A few different reasons I continue to have hope is finding the small things on earth that fill me with the greatest joy. And I didn't think I could go today without talking about wiener dogs, but I found my biggest love in the entire world is wiener dogs. Finding small things like that, whether it's music or certain people. Through this whole process, I've met my best friend, Avery. Just finding the small things on this huge earth that makes you feel like this is your home and you have a purpose to live here. What I would say to someone else searching for hope is to find your little reasons that keep you going every day. I would also just advocate for telling your story to those that are close to you. It may be uncomfortable and not feel right, and sometimes I still feel uncomfortable reaching out to people about certain things, but ultimately it's better to share what you're going through than to not be here anymore. To any parents going through the same struggles that I've been through or having a child going through the same struggles, something that really helped me was my parents just continuing to tell me I'm loved every day. I have really bad days where I isolate myself, and they'll get me out of my room, do whatever they can to get me out and do stuff other than sitting on my phone and being in my room. Treatment changed my life totally, and I know it's a really scary thing to send your kid away somewhere, but sometimes you need to let go for a second and do whatever will heal them. And yeah, it's really scary, but you're just loving them in a different form. It's changed my family so much. My dad's a manager at his work, and seeing how I've gone through my struggles, he's become a lot of a different person at work. So he gives his employees mental health days, and he's very cautious about checking in on his employees. As much as I went through this process, it also changed all my loved ones totally, and I really can't thank them enough for being so supportive.